Good morning, everyone. This is the first of 4 webinars this month. Every Wednesday this month, I'll be conducting a webinar under this Fit to Bid program. The first 2 are around bidding skills. So Foundation this week and the advanced one next week. This program is brought to you by the London boroughs of Wandsworth and Richmond, who have engaged Brandwin to deliver a Fit to Bid program, and I'll touch on those elements very briefly later. I think many of you are familiar with those. So this is me. I've been doing this for a long time. My speciality is just helping people sit on the, almost thinking about being on the other side of the table. So how do I get you to walk a mile in the shoes of your, in this case, your buyer, your prospect, your customer, but also it could be your employee, it could be your investor. So I've been doing this for a while. All of the Brandwin advisors, we come from real life, from real world. Our advice is practical rather than academic. So that's what we're aiming to do today. First of 2 workshops, and this is what we're going to cover if all goes well. So let me just go back one. There we go. So we've got the why do organizations go to tender, how to get the basics right, and then what makes up the winning bid. So 3 major components of today's session. I'm going to skip through the next bit fast about Brandwin. So we consult with local authorities and chambers to help them meet their business growth targets. So we deliver programs, sit in the middle of that, to build community wealth, which means we work with lots and lots and lots of SMEs and really practical SMEs at all levels. So we've been around for a while. We've worked with over 25,000 SMEs, various programs all around London and heading right up through the Midlands and further north. And crucially, lots of success stories. So this is all achievable. Take the stuff on board and you will win bids. I'll come to that at the end of the hour. These are the 6 programs we run. We're bottom middle today in the Fit to Bid, around building this notion of community wealth, how we keep more money within these boroughs. This is the slide that's most important for everyone because it demonstrates just quite how deep and wide our relationships go. This has helped us evolve this program to make it really practical and useful. We're an approved UK government supplier, so we're on their database, and this is where, if you need to register, for those that haven't, come to fittobid.co.uk, look for the Battersea Power Station, and that's for Wandsworth and Richmond. Click on that, that'll take you through for registration. Our process has at least 5 elements all set out here. The key ones today, we're at the bidding skills and teaching around that. Hopefully some of you have had access to the online bid capability assessment. Further on, the Meet the Buyer event is critical. That's the 2nd of October. That's where you start to get a face behind a name or a function. So before I reveal the answers, just looking at the chat, I wonder if you can just put down in the chat for me what you think might be the big obstacles for SMEs when you're mounting a bid. Let's get stuck into the content here. What do you think are the big problems that SMEs face when even contemplating this world of bidding and procurement and seeking bigger contracts? Yes, it's that size of contract, being able to evidence you can deliver it. How do you find who's on the other side? And then just find, paperwork. Yeah. And finding out when stuff is active. So, and if there's more, keep them coming in. But I'm gonna keep going because I need to get my foot on the accelerator to get through the content today, if that's all right. Key metrics, brilliant. So here's the first of these. So it is about that. I've not done this. Where do I start? And is this really for me? And how are they going to know who I am? And how do I demonstrate? How do I show them that I'm great, or my business is great, or my solution's great? And what is this arcane world of tenders and procurement and these funny bits of terminology? And how do I justify all that time and put all that effort in? And how do I know if it's going to be any use or not? And so what we're looking to do with this program is just to help you with that. It's help you to understand what this world looks like, to give you some best practice standards and some skills and knowledge and access to ebooks and all sorts. There's also the one-to-one tender advice sessions, which you can book through Fit to Bid. You get a pair of those, and a couple of you are speaking to me and taking those forward. And then depending on what comes out of those, depends what you need to help you get the confidence to move forward with these things. So did you bid? This was about the slide here is just kind of groovy because it's the redevelopment of Wembley. In this area, did you bid to get involved at Battersea Power Station redevelopment? Have you been involved in any of the redevelopment or the future redevelopment of the All England Club and the Wimbledon tennis? What are the other things that you might have been involved with? So again, just drop in the chat very quickly. What's your experience been? Are you a 1, a 2, or a 3? Have you never tendered before? Have you done some, or you're an absolute regular and just looking for those extra herbs and spices on the recipe? Cool. All never never. Joe's done a couple, and then Joe, how have you done? Good, average, bad? Yeah. Everyone will get the link to the Meet the Bar event, Bill. It'll all come through on from Wandsworth, and actually you should have. I think some of the comms went out about that this week from Gregory at Wandsworth, so I'll make sure that all happens. Wide experience of tendering, new business. Okay, good. And then just secondly, and this is where I think this really helps, is to understand why do you think organizations go to tender and what are they looking for? So again, why do you think organizations go out to the market and they don't just stick with what they got? And what are they looking for? Yeah, legal requirement in some cases. Yeah, looking to generate more revenue, get best value, looking for something unique, or it is something unique and they don't know where to find it. Looking for a better supply or price. And price is something we'll talk about between this week and next week and in our one-on-ones, because it's that mix between price and value. Increasingly procurement departments are getting very smart about people underbidding and then not being able to deliver and putting them in a hole. So credibility, best value. Yeah. Yeah, Chris, that's the cynic. Which is why relationships become important in building this stuff. So just a reminder about writing your bids when you come into this process. Think about it from the other side of the table, from what they're looking for, and we'll cover that just now. So what are they looking for? So that the first skim is typically there's a legal process or a formal process. They're looking to minimize risk. That's a key one. The second one, and I remember these are humans. So although the council or the company needs to buy a service, there's a human that's has to manage their own personal risk in putting your bid forward or deciding for you versus others. So always remember that there's a human involved in this. There's stuff around compliance. There is pricing. It's got to be competitive, but it's got to be sustainable. And you can explain why you are not going to be the cheapest, because that makes you sustainable and that delivers more value, then you will get a fair hearing on that. Are you delivering a return? And are there some efficiencies? And in this day and age, everything needs to be measured. I think these are kind of always the added value bits. So those are kind of the first cut on the slide before. But here, very often, they're looking for innovation and looking to get using the same resources or fewer resources to get more. Sounds greedy, but actually they're just looking for new ways of doing things to deliver better value. And clearly, public money. So they have to make sure that they've gone through a proper process, and you have to be able to do what you're being asked to do. You have to be competent. But they're looking for ways of what can be improved. Is it, and it might not just be that you're providing a better paper towel dispenser, but it might be in the way that you communicate with them, or you're able to manage how the refilling process works, or that you work with somebody else who's maybe cleaning the toilets, so that they spot the refill requirement, and you collaborating with a third party. How can we make this all better? They're looking for cultural fits, and very often that is, looking for someone that is local, that supplies from a local base, that employs local people. Data is another thing. If you can help them with data and their reporting requirements, that transparency and communications around reporting what you've done, what you've delivered, where you are against the milestones that you said you'd hit, and having an open conversation about that. Interestingly, sometimes it's not about hitting those, but it's about recognizing you're not going to hit them, have the conversation and explaining why you're not going to hit them, and making the changes for the next phase. Companies, councils, they're looking to develop those relationships. They don't necessarily expect you to be perfect because they're humans too. Problem-solving ethic and ensuring the satisfaction of the internal customer is a bit dry, but often procurement processes might be driven by a procurement department in conjunction with a client department, perhaps who's also got a third customer. So got to really acknowledge everyone who's in that that chain, and making sure whatever you're doing works for the end customer, the middle customer, and the procurement person all the way through. So here's a quick checklist to come back to. There's a few of these slides you might always want to kind of print out and pin. Basically, it's when you're in a tender process, and we'll come to how you find them a little later, but when you're in a process, think of these as an exam or a school project that's going to be assessed, where you got a piece of work. And if you think of it from that perspective, an exam question is testing your knowledge. It asks questions to elicit certain amounts of information, and there's a marking scheme around those. So most of these questionnaires and forms and tenders, they'll tell you where the marks go broadly, but they also expect you to have read the question carefully and answered the question that's been asked. I mean, that sounds really basic, but so important. So as you go through, whether it's a completed supplier questionnaire, make sure you follow the questionnaire, answer all the questions in the way and give the information that's being asked. If you're asked for signatures on documents, then make sure you remember to sign those, date those, what's required. Don't worry too much about the terminology. We can all go and check online what these mean. So we've got the invitation to tender, the RFI, request for information, RFP is request for proposal. That's the next stage. PQQ is, crikey, I can't remember that one. It'll come back to me. I looked it up yesterday. But these things, don't worry too much about them. They're just stages in a process, and there'll be a written document that relates to those that have the exam instructions on it. Other things, accounts, references, policies, pricing. If you're asked for those, you've got to put them in. If you miss any of these things out, you won't get the marks. Pre-qualification questionnaire. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. It's me that needs the coffee. So you can see there's potentially quite a lot in going after a bid. The flip side of that is if you win a bid, it's terrific because typically it's quite a sticky relationship. You are going to get paid because public sector is a big company, and it allows you to plan better. And the flip side of that is you need to plan well around these creating these bids. So it's real deep breath time, which is, okay, there's a lot to do. How do I create a plan, break it all down, and give myself time? So here's where, I think we all project manage in our daily lives, but this is, right, what are the steps from reading the paper? What are the steps I need to do? How do I know when they need done? Who's going to do what? And I've got help from my team to work with that. Who else do I need to be in touch with? And what are the deadlines so I can give myself enough time that I can have a cold read myself and somebody else can have a cold read and make sure that bid all is coherent and cohesive. So let's keep drilling down here. Well, this is kind of groovy graphics, so I'm going to flick all these open and not have the suspense. There's kind of 6 golden rules. So, and these are common sense, but they are, you'd be amazed how many people miss bits of these out and therefore are surprised when their bid comes back poorly marked. So answer the question and think about their marking scheme, the evaluation criteria. understand what the broader needs and objectives of your client, your prospect are, whether council or big company or big department. What are they looking to achieve overall? And then show you can solve that problem. Show that you've got benefits for the client, that they're getting something out of this. They're not just buying a widget. There's more for them than that. And be able to evidence that. And then we've got that all assembled. You don't need to be a terrific, clever novelist. You just need to set this stuff out. Clear, short sentences, nice and neat, dividing your work up into little sections. So it's easy to read, easy. So someone can sit literally with a pen and go, right, I've asked them for 5 things. Thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, thing 4, thing 5. Tick, 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 tick. Perfect. 100% on that section. Make it nice and easy for the person that's reading your document. So into the first couple, this sounds a bit obvious, but excellent bids, when they're fully thought through and well written, usually you come out with a contract. And the flip side of that, if you've missed bits, you've not assembled it, you've done a slapdash job, then procurement people get very nervous and will either not include you or will just, you won't get awarded the contract. You'll just not get into the next phase. So in our experience, it is kind of slightly frightening how many bids are just really poorly done. And it's the basics that people fall down on. It's very rare for people to bid for things that they shouldn't be bidding for. People are good at self-selecting in, but not understanding the question you're being asked, giving irrelevant information, sitting there and blah, blah, blahing about, we do this, we do this, we do this, we do this, and not thinking about, we could do this for you, or for you, we would do it in this way. And just selling, constantly being on transmit, and not linking that to what the council or the corporate buyer wants. Another thing is kind of making lots of claims that you can't be backed up. And often that's not about having done this a million times, but just demonstrating some proof, which comes back to one of the things I often talk about in the one-to-ones, just the power of testimonials, case studies, having people say things about you. Selling a service rather than solving a problem, absolutely. So this is one of the big uber questions, really, which is, even before you start, which is why choose us? Because there might be 10 people even in the region that do what we do, and if we don't stand out in some way because of how we've answered, how we solve the problem, how we communicate, how we offer a bit of extra value, how we deliver it, what the experience of the council is going to be with us, if we can't differentiate, then the only way they can choose is on price. And if they choose on price, they're just going to pick the bigger organization that's going to be able to have more economies of scale. So really think through about what's your point of difference. And actually, it's great advice to go back and revisit your, the value proposition is a bit of jargon, but it's just, why us? Why should you choose us? And if you get really clear on that and use that as a bit of an umbrella over everything you do when you're writing a bid, and keep coming back to that, then that will help differentiate your bid and allow you to stand out. So 2 quick questions for you while I slurp some water. Why should, in your mind, just kind of one sentence, why should they choose your company as a supplier over anyone else? And is there a way you can back that up? So why should they choose? Just drop it in the chat. And what would you use as evidence? Cool, yeah, because you're local, you're near. That's a good one. Yep, all that kind of community wealth building. Often that means I was with the head of procurement for St George's Hospital, kind of the mental health trust further down, and they changed to a much more local provider for house visits. And because they weren't sort of bussing people in across London to go and knock on doors, when they they had problems. It was just much easier to get extra supporting because the business was truly local, and they're able to go that extra mile. And for the chapter in St George's said that was worth a lot to us, particularly in that community, to be able to activate people at short notice, because there was much less transport time. So evidencing is challenging. The branded case study thing I get. But it's interesting. There's a whole kind of sliding scale, I think, of how to build up for everything from the formal, 10-page glossy case study that's leather bound and or feature film or whatever it is. Sometimes it's enough just getting a couple of sentences out of a previous client around that specific issue, which was their response times were excellent. We never waited more than 12 hours for X to be fixed. 2 sentences from a third-party endorser, another client. There you go. Oh, that's interesting. That's good. That something as simple as that might be enough in the context. Just looking at the chat, what else is in there? Cool. So it's back to being walking in their shoes, and I think we've touched on this. Sometimes it is about having a relationship with the client, or the client having some sort of awareness of what you are, what you do, how you operate. We've talked about the power of case studies, testimonials, references, and they are all important. If there are and depending on which sector you're in, those that use the online ratings, brilliant evidence. But it can be just a little snippet from a customer. It can be sticking an iPhone in camera in front of a client, going, could you just give me a minute? So why do you choose us over anyone else? And see what comes back. And if it's good, well, there you go. There's a little video clip you can use. With that evidence, where are you storing that? How do you make it available? So, in a world that's moving so fast and with everyone using kind of AI tools, but the website still has a function. It is a shop window, and it's also a bit of a repository of how can you maybe storing some of these testimonials on there. And it's a way for you to get checked out by a potential customer. And that goes around expertise, working on similar contracts, knowledge and experience. Those are things that customers really like, because it takes the risk away of working with someone new. And that's a key bit, is thinking through what are the risks in a client's mind that they have to worry about. Can they do it? Have they done it before? Have they done it in the way that we want it done? If you always go, yeah, we've done that. It might only have been at a 25 scale and not a 50 scale, but we've done it, and here's somebody else saying we did a good job of it. Can I just add my brochure? No. No, you can't, because a brochure is a sales document, and it is too generic. So there's probably bits of your brochure you can pilfer and reuse content, but it's around taking what you do and shaping it into the specific need of that bid. I think there's often there's a little balance here, which is, I think, when you're shaping answers, use materials, shape it to the particular one, but keep those answers on whether it's in Google or Word or whatever, just as little paragraphs, because you'll build up a little library you can reuse over and over again, and that'll speed up this process of filling in the forms. But really important that you get away from, oh yeah, we talk about that over here, clipping that in, and thinking, does that answer the question in a way that really helps us to stand out separately? So 2 things. So what are you being asked? And then what are the buyer's objectives? So if you can get those 2 right, really understand what you're being asked, and really understand what the buyer wants to get out of the process, then those will deliver a winning answer. I've just seen hi Liz, it's yeah, I think when you don't know what you're bidding against, I think you define your own criteria. So whether that's we are more creative, or we're simpler to deal with, or we've added technology, so our booking system is really robust, and our understanding of what you are looking to achieve here is that you want a really robust booking system, and we've invested in ours and it's second to none. And so we challenge you to find someone who's got a better one. And having a great booking system means that we can add lots of value elsewhere. It might be, and I know you do, I've worked with Liz a few years ago, and she does these amazing floral designs, real statement pieces. So if a buyer's, so in your case, Liz, if a buyer's really understanding the real objective is to stand out, is to use local flowers in a creative way to fill a space, to make a statement. Well, if you meet that objective, say, well, that's what we do. That's our meat and drink, is being really creative. Don't ask us to stick 4 daffodils in a bottle every day and for 200 days in a row. That's not us. We do high-end, creative, really thoughtful, wow stuff. Now, if you're being asked just to do daffodils every day, then you're bidding for the wrong piece of work. So I think you can establish what the criteria are for our understanding of your objectives are this. We think you're asking us to do that. Our view is that you need these 3 things, which we have, in order to get the right outcome that you want. I hope that helps just illustrate that point a bit. So this is another way of saying that, is really understand whether it's the council or the corporate, what are the objectives, what do they need to get done, and at the core of that, what's the absolute need. So the absolute core might be, we need to make sure our bathrooms are stocked with paper towels and hygiene products at all times. Now, what's the added value is, well, actually, to do that, we use our fleet is electronic vehicles, so we're sustainable, or we've now got a little widget in our dispensers that lets us know when we're running low, so we don't make extra journeys. What's the added value? Not something that's just, it's a beautiful pink color, great, but what's nice to have, but what adds real value? If you've got a widget, we can say, well, we can start to map from that. We know when things need refilled. We can use that data to show actually how many things we're getting through, whether we should have extra dispensers in which bathroom, and start to add a bit of value to that whole process. If you really understand what the person on the other side of the table wants, what's at the core of that, and where you can add that with a bit of surround of extra value, that's the foundation of your winning bid. So this is the bit where we started. Well, how the heck do we figure that out? So typically they'll tell you. So the invitation to tender, the ITT, is typically a document that says, we're looking to get X from the market. If you're interested in this, get in touch. And usually in that process, there'll be a specification. This is what we're looking to procure, to buy. And there'll be a process of, if you've got any questions about this, email us or phone us or whatever. Sometimes they have kind of open events where they say, come and meet us and we'll talk about this. When that specification comes out, you start to do your own research to work around that. And then there might also be, as I said, that formal Q&A process. We can get much clearer on what's that core bit. So if you've really understood the objective, how do you work through and make sure you're answering the questions well? And this is exam technique. This is working through, sometimes they'll give you a real indication of how much weight is on each element. Often that might be in a top level, which 60% might be on capability to deliver, 20% on innovation, 10% on sustainability or community value, and I've probably got 10 or 15% left. They'll cut it that way. Sometimes they might even say each element, this is 10 marks, this is 20 marks. And you know from doing exams way back when that if you're asked a 5-mark question, you do 5 things to answer. A 20-mark question, you've got a lot more stuff to get through. So go back and really read and understand, pull those questions apart. And if you pull those questions apart, you'll be able to answer each element of those questions. That'll help you with the structure. And it means you don't miss out on bits. So let's have a look at an exercise for that. So this is actually from a real bit. So I'm going to just give you a minute to work through, read through that, and have a think about as you go. Just jot down briefly how many questions are actually being asked in there. I know there's 3 bullets, but how many elements are there in these questions? Once you read through it, stick a number in the chat. 7, 5. I swear it's certainly more than 3. No prizes for any of these, but I think interesting. The answer slide here gives 6, but I thought I found 1 or 2 more, or there's things you split out. But if you relate back the element bit at the bottom, so question 1, high level description and the structure, and the number of people in each team, 3 elements in that one question, and then description of the resources, and then question 5, other key contracts and how you're going to manage conflict. So at least 6 in there. So always go back and answer the questions and pull it to bits and say, how many things am I actually being asked? It's set out as 3 bullets, but it's actually 6 answers. And this is another slide where if it's worthwhile, I don't know, whether you take a photograph of it or you print it out or whatever it is having your own evaluation criteria. So clearly at the right hand side, if you've not answered the question, I just need to move the chat pod out of the way. There we are. If you haven't answered the question, you don't, or you left it blank, you get 0. Now, all the way up, you can grade all the way up. Now, 5 has a well-defined solution. It's got clear benefits, which are linked. It's backed up by evidence. That evidence is strong. And there's quantification of that evidence, and it demonstrates clear value. Maybe 8 elements in there. So for some, so quantification is just being able to say, we achieve savings of £100,000. We reduce the number of trips to refill things from 5 per week to 3 per week. That's just quantification. Anything you can put a number around. And clearly we've got a wide range of industries and on the call today. So, but anything that you can put a metric around, because that's just much easier to stick in a spreadsheet and a table, and to show improvement. Now, scoring a 5 is fantastic. If you're every answer you scored 5, you're home and hosed and brilliant. Sometimes it's okay to do a 3 or 4 if that's as far as you can get. But you really want to be doing 3, 4, 5s. You want to make sure you're definitely not doing 0, 1, 2s. And this might also be helpful if you've got a proofreader, someone saying, can you go and have a look at the questions we've been asked, look at our answer, and here's a marking scheme of what good looks like. And they can come back and say, listen, these 2 or 3, I think you only had kind of a 3-ish answer because it was reasonable, but you haven't got any, is there anything you can do to add a bit of quantification, add a number, demonstrate some value? It's an exam, really. Okay, cool. We're doing quite well on time because I'm going far too quickly, probably. So starting to think about where, if you found an opportunity, I'll come to where you might find these tenders. I know 1 or 2 of you asked. But just for this bit, where do you think you might find information on a customer, or particularly as a council or a corporate customer, and what should you be looking for when you're doing that research. Super. So you all got the yeah, more coming through. Annual report's a good one. Company's house, AI driven. I'd have said cool. So I think the kind of the holy trinity really were always the website, so the company or the council, company's house, if it's a corporate, might have some information, although the bigger companies, they tend to not be so easy to penetrate, in which case, particularly if it's a listed company, an annual report will really help. And increasingly those are online and quite easy to find your way about. I think the third one that's emerging now is using AI tools to help you. ChatGPT gets all the noise. I've been experimenting with a couple of others. Perplexity is one that I'm finding really helpful. And I mean, I'm conscious there's Grok, there's numbers of these things around. I would encourage you to go and start playing with these things. Most are kind of free for the amount of stuff that you will need. And even if you start paying, you're only at 10, 20 pounds a month. It's reasonably manageable at the moment, certainly. And those tools can be really effective in terms of taking some of the legwork out of exploring these. And I think that's, I've really seen in the last 6, 12 months, just a huge shift in the quality of what these tools are able to generate for you. Now, what they are doing is just sitting in your shoes, and they're looking on the web for company websites and annual reports and company's house and so on. I think one of the places they're also going to is LinkedIn. And I'm very conscious that a lot of small businesses, because they're very client facing away, LinkedIn feels a bit heavy. And so most people will tend to be, well, actually, I run my stuff. I've got a company Facebook page, or on Instagram works better for me because I can show off my beautiful designs, whether it's cakes or flowers, and that's kind of great to reach a particular market. But you have to remember, here you're looking at a very different market. You're looking at a corporate market, a procurement, a council, a market of people who sit in corporate environments. And LinkedIn is a phenomenal resource for that. The feed stuff on LinkedIn is kind of neither here nor there, really. The power all lies in those connections and be able to track people down and understand a little bit about what they're interested, what they do, and often being able to strike up conversations by being able to send them a bit of value in advance. So LinkedIn is a big one. Perplexity is one I've been playing with. I think there's Grok, I think is the Twitter or X one. I think there's a number around, and they seem to kind of come and go. But and of course, ChatGPT is still the main one, and increasingly does a super job. And it sounds like kind of Chris knows more about it than certainly I do. So off we go. But do your research, work out what it is you think you need and where you might be able to get that from, and then kind of what are you looking for. So I'll take that through the next couple of slides. So both Richmond and Wandsworth have got extensive procurement pages, and there's quite a lot of detail in there. And they tell you, if you look at this Richmond slide on the right hand side, what's their view of social value, what's their view of low carbon procurement, and sustainability, and is there something you can offer that a bigger company or a different company can't offer? How are they set up? What's their contracts register? So that is a list of all the current contracts that they have, which give you the value and when they come to an end. So if you can go, I've got hand towel dispensers in my brain today for some reason, but if you can see there's a hand towel dispensing contract that comes to an end in February 2026, where are we? Well, someone must be looking to renew that now. Which department is that in? On the website, on LinkedIn, using Perplexity or ChatGPT, who's involved in that decision, and where are they? So what are you looking for? So you're looking for things that just might help stand out. If they are obsessed with innovation, if they are Wandsworth's kind of halfway into its year of culture, but if that's front of mind for the council because they are London's Borough of Culture this year, being able to reference that and understand what's going on in their world. What is it that gives you that extra little bit of edge? And then coming back into those individuals, do I have any contacts there? Do I have someone that can introduce me? If I've done work with one department, can I ask that person to introduce me to their equivalent in a different department? Can I ask that person if they work in social care in Wandsworth, might they know someone who does social care in Sutton or Kensington or wherever? How can you kind of leverage those introductions? Or actually, if you find someone, say, right, I've not met that person. Who do I know who does know them? And see if we get a third party introduction just to get that relationship going. And that relationship isn't, oh, great, I found you on LinkedIn. I sell X. Would you like to buy some X? At which point, they're never going to open your messages again. But it might be, hi, I see I see from LinkedIn you do social care, and you're always looking for innovative ways of rostering help. I saw this industry paper about where rostering technology is going. Thought it might be useful. If you got any questions on it, maybe we can have a cup of coffee and talk about it. Now, that's a way to build a relationship. And that's how this notion of pre-engaging. Because what helps with that is, one, you might kind of understand what those core objectives and other objectives are better. Now, if you've got your tools set up so you're scanning for those contracts coming up, you shouldn't miss them anymore. They've got much better at those. But it just means you're round that council and you're a known entity. And that can only help when they come to review your bid document. Just more on research. As I say, this is kind of Watford, Hertford. There's quite a lot of depth. They'll have everything from what we're looking for, directories you can be on, current council registers. Increasing this stuff is moving online, so make sure you are registered on the right procurement databases. And if you haven't already received those, and I think they're in the opening webinar, certainly when I do my one-to-ones, I make sure everyone gets another copy of access to those. So here's the list of things to look for. Just keep an eye on Google Gemini, of course. Yeah, that's the big one, I forgot. So what to look for? So what is it that they think is important in their world? Is it, our biggest mission is to be a zero carbon borough by X, in which case everything you can do that reduces your carbon footprint puts you further up the pecking order. What challenges have been set by the chief executive of the council or that corporate? What's going on in their market? What's mission critical or business critical for them? And how do they talk about what they do? And sometimes you can get all the way down. There's some really interesting information, metrics, and facts and things in a book that's being produced, a sort of booklet being produced by BIG, the Business Improvement Group for South London. So if you search BIG South London, I'm just trying to see where my copy, I haven't got my copy to hand or I'd wave it around, which is a big program launched for half a dozen boroughs in South London that talks about the size of that South London economy being 3 times Liverpool, and which boroughs have got which clusters of industry and so on. So when you're looking for those little bits of information that help you stand out. We know that you're looking to establish a cultural cluster linking together Wimbledon Theatre and the University of Arts London and the Polka, and so what we do is X, and this is how we support that goal. Just helpful, just to help you shape and move away from this generic. We sell paper towels, so buy paper towels from us. It's how you understand what their bigger world is going, and so you can shape your story. You can say, well, we should work with you because We know that you're looking to do this, and that's what we do. So where are we? We've got about 10 minutes or so left. Conscious that for today, that's a lot of the, the meat of the content. I'm just going to go on to some of the practical stuff, the help that's available in the program in the next 5-10 minutes. We've had a first cut at this. We do the next cut at this next Wednesday. So if that's been useful, more of this to come next Wednesday, back on this content. Bear with me, I'm just going to flick the slides around a bit. So I think the key slides, as someone asked, is I think this evaluation criteria is a really important one. I think it's really helpful, particularly if you've got someone cold reading your bids. And then actually this slide here, ding, 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 all the way back. If you've done all, these are the golden rules, the 6 hexagons. If you've got that and gone, right, have we done 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, then we're home. We've got an excellent bid. I think those are the 2 key ones I'd pull out from today. So in terms of this program, as I say, we've got the 4 webinars on the next 4 Wednesdays. The key big event is the 2nd of October, and that's going to take place at the Exchange in Twickenham, where we will have a number of big corporates and councils and public sector bodies and procurement people from there. And that's an opportunity to meet the buyer. So if you can get access to that event, and I think the next slide's got the link. We're then there's more webinars coming down, and all the way through from July to December, we have a limited number of one-to-one advice sessions. So thank you to those who've booked up already. Get them booked in now, because there's a limited number. So we've got 1, 2, 4. So there's 7 of these webinars. Great thing about the webinars is that they are all on YouTube, so it's this embedded learning. So you can come back and run through this with me again. Or if you've not liked my style, there's a couple of other of my colleagues have done these webinars for other colleagues. So feel free to cross-reference us and go and explore there. But there's a ton of information on that YouTube page, and these webinars will also be on the Wandsworth and Richmond procurement pages. I think they'll be there as well. It's a very, very rich resource there. I'd encourage you to use that. Second thing is on the this process of mentoring. How this works. The form on the right side, we got to pick up a bit of biographical information. That takes us a few minutes. But actually, the first session, we're looking to run through where you are in your journey. Are you an absolute newbie, or are you super skilled and just looking for that extra 5%? Now, depending on where you're on the journey, we can work out what maybe some things for you to go away and do, some things for me to go away and do, and then we work out when to come back and see how we've done. So that's kind of an opening bracket and a second session to come back and look how we've pulled everything together. Now, ideally, the best way that works is I've got this tender coming up and I'm not sure where to start. What do I need to be thinking about? And we help work on that. Or it might be, actually, I don't even really know where to start, and we'll have a conversation about your value proposition. So the why choose us. And if all we do is get you clear on that, then that's hugely helpful, because then you can decide, okay, now I understand either that I shouldn't be doing this at all, or actually I'm pretty much there. I just need to reshape how I do things and how I show up, so that on my own LinkedIn presence, my own website presence, my own Instagram, whatever it is, I'm making sure that when a procurement person comes to see me, they're getting the messages that I want them to receive. Also in the Fit to Bid, we've pulled together an ebook, a digital playbook. It's got a ton of stuff, way more than just down that left-hand side. We know that writing these bids can be difficult and daunting, so we've created lots of templates, lots of cheat sheets, checklists, how to think about things like social value, just to to demystify these things and just give you practical help to get these things through. So I absolutely recommend you go and get that. It's on the Fit to Bid page, and you'll locate it there. Talked about the 2nd of October. Can't stress how fantastic it is to just have 5-10 minutes with a procurement person and open up that conversation. Spoiler alert, they're not going to be standing there handing out £1 million contracts to everyone they meet. It's about helping on a kind of speed dating basis. Then it's anything to do saying, right, I do this, I do it in this way. Is that something that you're looking for? And it's that point about, do you procure my service direct, or do I need to go to one of your contractors and get into their supply chain? In which case, who do you use? So if you use, I don't know, Barrett's, the house builder, or they do all our stuff, they're the people you need to go and find. Okay, well, at least you know that. And you can find someone about it saying, well, actually, X at this council said I should contact you because I understand you deal with the subcontractors. So so sometimes in that event, have a strategy of what is it that you're going to ask? What is it you need from the relationship? And can they help you? If they can't help you, you're wasting your time and theirs. So pick out the ones you want to go and see, and go to them with a bit of a proposition, and make sure you're very quick about, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is what I want from you. Can you help me with X? And just get that thing going. Because actually, if they go, oh, wow, I didn't know we even did that, and you're local, brilliant, can we have a cup of coffee? Because I need to find out more about that. These are some of the logistics of how those things are set up. There's a bit of software that, as I say, is kind of really is speed dating style. So get booked in. When the full schedule comes out, it'll be very soon. Get your meetings booked in. Come to the event, because you'll get to meet lots of other lovely SMEs. And typically, if you haven't got into the schedule, the procurement people often bring a second person, so that we can do walk-ins as well as the meeting schedule ones. But if you get your meeting schedules, you're definitely booked in. I've clicked on the wrong bit. So just going to whiz through these case studies. So here's a cleaning company that started picking up awards. These pallets guys are a great story from out Heathrow way, where they were kind of treading water, frankly, and they got into the Heathrow supply chain ecosystem, and their business has gone from strength to strength. It's their real success story for something that's kind of as unglamorous as pallets. Bless them. But they've taken all this stuff off, and they've really used it, and that's the key, is using this stuff. And just a very different applications. This is quite high tech, specialist air purification manufacturing. So quite high end, so very different. So we've had so if we come back, there you go, cleaning company, pallet company, high end manufacturing. So all of these are very different businesses, but the ability to write a good bid is what carries them through and gets them work from these bigger companies and public sector. So here's some of the business we've helped with, and that's the encouragement. If they can do it, so can you. And I think this strap line at the bottom is about, sometimes this isn't instant. Elliot at the Greener London does vertical walls, hanging walls, where kind of plants to cover buildings and things. Now, because no one knows how to buy that, he's taken 2 or 3 years to build these connections that only now they're going, okay, now we understand what you do, and now we can put you into those programs that are coming up in 3 years' time. So it's taken a while, but he's developed those relationships, and now he's starting to reap the rewards. Emma, there will be a recording, and it's all on YouTube. Don't worry about that. So here's how to get going. If you haven't registered already, jump on a Fit to Bid, book a session with me. If you've been around the block before, we are holding a number of places for newbies. So I think we're nearly full of people that have been on a Wandsworth session before. But if you've not been through, we are holding sessions available for you, and particularly if you come from Richmond Borough. So get the one-to-one advice session. After that, submit an EOI, an expression of interest, and then develop a winning bid. And between this week's seminar, webinar, and next week's, you'll have the full set of understanding of how to manage that bidding process. Phew. There we go. That takes us all the way through to the end of the presentation today, which is part 1. We come back and look at bidding skills next week in the advanced set of kind of bidding skills. Just to recap, if I go back up to here, what's on the list? We have these webinars are every Wednesday. We're doing the series right the way through September, ahead of the Meet the Buyer event on the 2nd of October. We've got 3 more webinars in November, December. And throughout that process, there are these one-to-one advice sessions in the background. So I hope you've enjoyed today. I hope we've been able to meet answer some of the questions that you had in the chat. Thank you very much for being there today. It's lovely to get people engaged and involved, all on YouTube. Go and start applying some of this stuff now. That's the key. Thank you very much indeed. And I think we're now out of time, and Lisa will probably come back in and click the button if you're there, Lisa. Thank you all for your participation today.